clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well with 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Clips. Why does a dog wag its tail? Subscribe and hit the bell. A dog is smarter than its tail. If the tail were smarter, the tail would wag the dog. Wag the dog in politics is the act of creating diversion from a damaging issue. Here at Wag the Dog News, the tail doesn't wag the dog. Enjoy. Clip. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the bell. Everything will be well. 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alright, Tibib Jibs, another one of Kip's clips. Right. Anyway, I won't bore you with the technical difficulties. But anyway, started in the end. Got there in the end. Roberto and the Highlander in the evening, gents. In the afternoon, evening, gents. So, as always, at Wag the Dog News, have a look at one side, have a look at the red car news and the blue car, and the red and the blue car. The red car and the blue car had a race, and it's the levels of bullcrap coming from all directions is unfucking believable, man. It's like pretty much all mainstream news organisations from all angles have slipped into this war footing. X Factor backstory bullshit. That's a good way of explaining it. Proud of myself for that one. That's a really good fucking way of doing that stuff. It's a very good way of explaining it. That's why I had to start doing this, to be able to like stomach the news. Otherwise, I'm just like that. Turn it off, because the exact same reason why I can't stomach X Factor. Is that still about? Is the exact same reason that I struggled to watch the news, and I was just shouting at the TV, and I thought, why don't I shout at the camera while watching the TV? And I need to stop shaving my own head. But see a newly freshly shaved head. I could sit and stroke my head all day. Anyway, in the afternoon. So the reason, oh shit! Trying to get RT at the top of the hour. Here we go, just got it. What? What? But Russia just tells you the truth, of course. You know, my daddy's bigger than your daddy. Always. I honestly think Russia is leap years ahead of everyone else when it comes to cyborgs. Because all their fucking reporters sound like robots. But for this leprechaun, he sounds like a member of the Ra. Woo! Oh, it's disgusting. You'd be able to find more. I subjected myself to the full blown footage of the site, and I kinda regret it now. I've stopped doing that, for obvious reasons, because it's disturbing and it breaks your heart seeing fucking just dead bodies everywhere, man. Mate, you're on TV, at least fucking comb your hair, man. Somebody give him some gel, look. He doesn't look like he's been in the war zone, he looks like he's been in his bed all morning. Oh, come on, find some English-speaking Russians to cry on TV for us. Highlander, I bet you felt brilliant for turning off the TV and shit for a week, man. Bet you felt amazing. But you must admit, it's real. Right, we get the point. It's really hard to escape it, no matter what you do. You can try and tune out a current affairs and current events and politics and stuff. But it's hard to escape the relentless bombardment of this shit. You can't even go to a football game now without fucking taking a knee. The racism thing, then taking a knee. Because remember, football's got stop racism or whatever thing. It's not as if football was like. Well, we'll have a look at the BBC News in a bit, Lavrov, and we'll see what you're saying, mate. See if the BBC even mention it. But it's kind of sad and pathetic that RTE show you all the Ukraine's collateral damage and vice versa. While the UK media pushes this news, the Partygate and reporters are swept under. What Partygate thing, mate? I have no idea what you're talking about. And somebody said Corona or COVID to me the other day, and I had no idea what they're talking about. I just turned round to them and said, Ukraine, 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 Ukraine. An old info warrior used to work and turn up on Alex Jones. Now, when he was on Alex Jones, I don't know if he ran 21st Century Wire. I don't know if that was around at the time. glad you're feeling better, Roberto. I'm feeling good, mate, apart from a bad neck, but that's getting better. Afternoon, Alan. Roberto, you're fucked, mate. Everything Russian is getting cancelled. They're kicking people off Strictly Come Dancing. I don't know in what country, but somewhere. Because they're Russian. Mental. Do you know, Highlander? Do you know what I heard? Got the medicine, mate. Do you know what I heard, Highlander, on doing the rounds on the news today? Can't remember where. It might have been Great Britain News. That's pathetic. It's like Britain's version of RT, man, rapping the news to you and all that dumbed down idiots. But anyway, I digress. Shit. Forgot what I was going to say there. Talking about some of the shit that was doing the rounds in the news. I need to stop trying to do more than one thing at a time. Oh, that's what I was going to say. What was doing the rounds this morning was Putin was racist. He's so... No, sorry. There wasn't even a question whether he was racist. It was like, he was so racist, he levelled Chechnya and somewhere else they were talking about. But maybe he won't do the same to Kiev because it's white people. And the beautiful Scottish sun. Honestly, this camera's better than the human eye. It makes it look like it's sunny in Scotland. My God, it's another fucking robot. Now, just bear in mind, this footage is no different for the UN, Britain, America showing you them dishing out, driving through mud villages in the desert, throwing out chocolate bars to the kids and all that. It's just the Babalinkas don't want chocolate, they want something to make some gruel, some slop. Some gulag wallpaper pastes. If you're worried about things getting blown up, shut down, supply of food, so on and so forth, of course you're going to go and fucking go in the scrounge. You're going to do what's required. Oh, it must have been listening to Alex Jones. They've all got canned goods. Alright, Davo. Fuck's sake, well, the Atkins diet doesn't seem to be working in Ukraine then. She's definitely been eating the fucking loaves. Lee, that's my job. Good luck to you. Hope you survive. See, it's hilarious, man. You watch the BBC and they're like, oh, Russia are committing war crimes, they're blowing up bridges and shit. They want to storm Kiev, but they're blowing up the bridges in front of them. And then obviously the RT are blaming the other side, so you decide. You decide. All I would say is get your phone out. Phone Bono. Doot, 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 doot. Hello, Bono. Who do you think has blown up the infrastructure, the bridges and all that? Because the RT are saying one thing and the BBC saying the other thing. Q Bono. What's that, Bono? Who benefits? It's a good question to ask yourself. Thanks, Bono. So, always ask yourself what would Bono do or say, and then cue him. I don't believe they're starving until I see World War II concentration camp level skeletons. Come on, where's this real starving folk? Where's the young black kids with big swollen bellies and flies fucking floating around them all the time like they're a piece of shit? Where's that? What? God, man. Right. Again, right, that I understand what's happening here. And I have no problem with YouTube doing what they're doing because they're coming from where they're coming and they're behest to who they're behest to, right? But what I don't like, what really pisses me off and makes me want to point to them and that was quite funny. He has got a sense of humour. Not all over here. But what annoys me about what YouTube's doing is they treating. Well, I don't mind if they treat other people like little children, but surely there must be some cunt through some channels that can stand up there and tell you, like, Victorian England style, straight fucking shooter, boom, 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 what's going on. Instead of all the bullshit they spew, which is just spin on spin on spin on spin on spin on spin, because they need to still project the image that the shit out gold bars. Aye. That was kind of fucked up. He died! I think he was... Aye. You know, there was a time when you wouldn't do that to world leaders, because if you do it to one, it can be done to you. But people think they're untouchable, don't they? Oh, mate. Back in the olden times, back when things were in black and white. God, you sound dumb as a motherfucker. Woohoo! Yeah! Tucker Carlson's going to get hung, drawn and quartered. That's pretty cool. But explain that a wee bit more, Daffo. What you saying that I didn't see. I've not seen the school bus getting took out by a Russian missile. If you slow down the video, you can clearly see the words Russian missile printed on the side, and in small print for school bus. So you arguing it was like a kind of prop, or was it the Russians writing the destination on the missile? If you've got any links or whatever, mate, drop them in and I can okay them, as long as they're like kinda reputable organisations. You know. Damn mockery. That's I like it, Roberto, that's pretty cool, mate. Oh shit, I fucked this up, I forgot you can't pause it. Oh, you can? Ow. No, you can't. I lie. Forgot I can't pause this cause of fucking YouTube. Fuck you, YouTube. Oh. What would you mean, mate? You're going to have women up in arms saying their boy's going to fight in Ukraine. I'm pretty sure we throw some vaginas in towards some guns, bombs and bullets. He's crazy, he's mental, he's fucking off his head. Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Putin. What do you mean you win? We've tried this before, Hillary Clinton. And that's when Putin threw out all the NGOs because Clinton was using all the NGOs to try and start a colour revolutions type coup. Because it was a coup. Smell my fingers. Oh my god, he sounds like an American Russian robot, doesn't he? I honestly think, as I said, I think they're all cyborgs. They sound like RoboCop. He's nuts. He's nuts. He's nuts. So punch him in his guts. Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin. He's nuts. He's nuts. We should stab him in his guts. Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin. And that's alright. You can call for the death of Vladimir Putin on the social medias right now. It's all good, baby.
Standard, it creates a bad environment.
Thank you, Blazin.
It's sad to see our politicians and so-called leaders speaking in such a manner. It actually hurts maybe Russians and just the attitude of how people look at.
I'll eventually get used to I'll eventually get used to this again.
And I think that's very, very poor and very, very, very bad direction.
The word Donbass tends to conjure up images of war and absolute division among those on either side of the current conflict in Ukraine. Right ahead, our short doc attempts to explain why.
I do apologise for the lack of audio. It wasn't me. It was Putin. It was fucking Putin. Came here, pushed the button behind my back because he knew that I was going to call him a mad sack. Fucking. You smell a fart in a lift? Putin. Oh shit, that's it. RT nearly finished. Right, I'll do better tomorrow and give you audio on the RT News at the top of the hour. Oh, no doubt, Highlander, you know. No doubt, Highlander. I believe that
technology should work for people.
Like many times in the past,
such orders with conflict with the first law.
Show your identification. We should be very careful about
if you know you're going to go to war with somebody to achieve X, Y, or Z, the West have a track record. They have an MO of provoking the other side or cornering the other side into a position where they can't do anything other than X, Y, or Z, and then they use that X, Y, or Z as an excuse. Look what they've done! I'll give you an example, and I forgot more about this than I can remember. But I'm pretty sure it was either the Vietnam War or the Korean War. And I think it was the Korean War, actually, where the South provoked the North through military means to retaliate, and then that retaliation through the control of the media was used as the pretext to go in balls deep.
Вы посмотрите, разрушенный Донбасс. Наш Донбасс разрушенный.
The Granda for Glasgow went to fight, mate. I missed that one. Was it on fucking Scottish news and shit? Oh shit. Right, this is went in the package.
There's a huge void between nationalist volunteers.
Let's go and have a wee look at... In fact, let's do something. Let's do the Great Britain news. Could do Sky News. Let's do Great Britain. Oh no, it's the fucking money fucking show fucking dude that does it this time. Right, but maybe I can go back an hour and a half. Let's see. Can you go back that length of time? Well, maybe you can, but I can't fucking see it. That's an absolute nightmare. Can you see it? And fucking royal pain in the shitter. Is that hours? Minutes? Right, there we go. Let's see, an hour and a half back. This is it, just leading up.
In the comments section.
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News.
We bring you the next story we'll cover. Sometimes big hair. This is Headliners, the paper review. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webb. You make me laugh out loud.
Yes. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you
Riff
in
won't be
sometimes.
happy, but you, Eamon.
Laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not
Riff
stop
won't
us
be happy.
reflecting what you think.
Sitting flirting with
Join
a
me
bit of
Monday
young
TV.
gay Australian right
No
winger.
spin. Listen tonight, Monday to
What a
Thursdays
combo.
from 9 on GB News.
Here we go, I think.
Hello and welcome to The Briefing with me, Gloria Di Piero. As our cost of living crisis gets even worse, how might the government help? Our politics panel will discuss the issues of the day. And Labour MP Ben Bradshaw tells me about being one of the first openly gay parliamentary candidates and how he feels for the trans community today. But first, it is the news with Rosie.
With Rosie, ibagum. Go down, my boy.
Good afternoon, it's 12 o'clock. I'm Rosie Wright, here to get you up to date on GB News. Now, Ukraine's president is urging European countries to protect their own security by helping
This is
Ukraine
Nigel
defend
Farage
itself.
TV, remember?
At a meeting of Nordic and Baltic leaders in London, Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed Western sanctions.
It was in the
but
paper,
warned
Highlander.
they
I
aren't
missed
enough
that, mate.
to end Russia's aggression and asked them to send more weapons.
Everything will go against Europe if Ukraine won't stand. So I would like to ask you to help yourself by...
Oh, good, I can pause this. Oh, he's a high B, mate, so he's a Edinburgh Chukter. That's alright then, man, he can fire off and die in Ukraine. For all I give a fuck. Salt and sauce, motherfucker. Oh, mate, that's terrible. What age are we talking here? Are we talking about a 50-year-old granda or like an 80, 90-year-old granda, man? Well, stick a wee Google in about that later on, man. Zelensky has a 31 billion villa in Florida and a 1.5 billion bank account. Mate, that's how much money you make for playing the piano with your dick. It's fair dues. How many refugees are you going to have staying in this villa? Read Pandora Papers. Ooh, no, mate, anything with the word Pandora on it, I don't want to open. Call me suspicious.
Helping us. You know the kind of weapon we need, everyone knows. You know what.
What is it with these East European motherfuckers? Oh, they all fucking. I'm going to end up. See if I fucking do this for much longer, I'm going to end up sounding like a fax machine. These fucking robot sounding motherfuckers.
What kind of defense measures we need? You know what that our need is the fighter jets, and without your support, it would be very difficult. I'm very grateful, but I want to say that we need more.
Boris Johnson said the situation in Ukraine was desperate and promised to do more.
I hear your points very loud and clear about the economic sanctions that we need to.
And I speak like you're a dumb foreigner.
On the banks, on SWIFT. And I think that you're completely right in what you say. This is a desperate moment, and I think we must try to do more, particularly to support you in protecting the Ukrainian people from bombardment by artillery and by aviation.
The mayor of Ukraine's capital says there will be a 35-hour curfew in Kyiv from this evening, lasting until Thursday morning. Vitaly Klitschko's announcement follows large explosions overnight, leaving 2 people.
Klitschko, that's one of the guys that Victoria Newland was talking about in her intercepted phone call when she was, her and the American ambassador to Ukraine were divvying up the positions of power between who they preferred. And Klitschko didn't quite make the top spot and get president, but he got mayor of Kiev, which is like maybe like second spot, I suppose.
People dead and residential buildings heavily damaged. Peace negotiations between Moscow and Kiev do resume today after being paused yesterday. Russian prosecutors are trying to move the Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny to a maximum security prison. They've also asked a court to hand Navalny an additional 13 years of jail time for fraud and contempt of court charges. He's already serving a 2.5-year sentence at a prison camp in Moscow for parole violations. New laws to tackle dirty money in the UK have been fast-tracked through Parliament in a bid to target Russian oligarchs. The Economic Crime Act is going to allow the UK to sanction those who've had their assets frozen by the European Union, the US and Canada. The government is now expected to announce further sanctions in response to Russia's invasion. The UN has urged authorities to ensure the journalist who interrupted a live news broadcast on Russian state television on a channel is not punished. Channel 1 editor Marina Osyanikova
I'll chip in with you for a super yacht,
live nightly news show.
Look at the West absolutely wetting their knickers about this. And I love the way they come out like, the highly controlled Russian press. Oh my god, try and get a dissenting fucking voice anywhere near question time, for example, man. I'm from the posh part, Claire, the West End.
Last night with a sign reading, "Don't believe propaganda, they're lying to you." The Kremlin described her actions as hooliganism.
Now, what did I also hear as well? I can't remember. Some talking head somewhere fucking coming in his pants over that woman which he done. And he said, I've never seen anything like this. This is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. I'm like, can you remember fucking Pussycat fucking doll? No, Pussycat dolls. What are they fucking called? Pussy Riot. You know, the fucking, the band that wasn't a band. They were a fucking Western PR stunt. In fact, that was during the time, that was when Putin kicked out all the NGOs, and Hillary Clinton was trying to, don't have a cow man, have a coo man in Russia. She was trying to have a coo man. Moo! Anyway, sorry.
In some other news now, Frankie Smith, the mother of the murdered toddler Star Hobson, has had her prison sentence increased to 12 years at the Court of Appeal. The 20-year-old was originally jailed for 8 years in December for her role in the murder of her 16-month-old daughter, who was killed by her former partner, Savannah Brockhill. British-Iranian national Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe has had her British passport returned to her.
Right. I can't be asked doing it, to be honest, right? But do you remember Boris Johnson coming out and admitting she was a spy? And then everybody being up in arms about it and going like, you can't fucking say that! And I'm coming out like, I all got it wrong, she's actually a teacher.
That's according to the Labour MP Tulip Siddiq, who tweeted that Nazanin is still at her family home in Tehran and that there's a British negotiation team with her. Mr Zaghari-Ratcliffe has been detained in Iran since her arrest in 2016 on charges of plotting to overthrow the government, allegations she has always denied.
She's a spy.
Detectives who are investigating the murder of Northern Ireland journalist Lyra McKee have arrested 5 men. They're aged between 20 and 54. They were arrested in Londonderry this morning under the Terrorism Act. Ms McKee was killed in the city in April 2019 as she observed rioting in the Cregan area. An extremist group styling itself the New IRA has previously claimed it was responsible. The number of unemployed people in the UK has dropped below pre-pandemic levels for the first time. The Office for National Statistics figures show 29.7 million UK workers are now on payroll as of February. That's a record high. Earnings, though, continue to fall behind inflation. Average weekly wages are down 1.6% compared with the year earlier.
What message
happens. Now let's head to the briefing with Gloria.
Oh God, we're going to get some sort of a package here. I wanted news.
Coming up this hour on The Briefing, wages are rising, but not...
Nigel Farage and how good he is.
Economics editor joins me to discuss our cost of living crisis and what Chancellor Rishi Sunak might do to help us. We'll discuss the issues of the day, including the government's response to the refugee crisis and the cost of living, with my political panel MPs Scott Benton and Barry Sherman.
With refugee crisis, right? No, last time I heard of a hang me check, there was like 90,000 people in the UK signed up for the Ukrainian refugee tender, and there isn't going to be 90,000 Ukrainians want to come over here, coming over here, or will end up over here. Will all the people who don't get our Ukrainian refugee, will they take a brown person in a boat in? Man, it's really fucking showing up people's biases. Big style, man.
Labour MP Ben Bradshaw was one of the first openly gay men to stand for Parliament.
COVID Highlander, what the hell's that?
And Isabel Oakeshott reports from the Polish border, talking to people from across Europe who have rushed to the country to help Ukrainian refugees. So, wages in the UK aren't keeping up with price rises. Who better to talk us through this than...
Right, this is... Oh God. It's one of the talking heads. Right, I'm going to... Sky News. Do Sky News. Something a wee bit different. Right, I need to go back in time. 42 minutes. Well, Highlander, the Cali refugees don't fit in with a lot of people's tick list when it comes to adopting a refugee. Oh, it's scandalous, it's scandalous, it's scandalous. Right, just while we're... Hold on. So I'm going to get myself another cup of tea. For me. Here we go. In the room with the dum.
This is Sky News Today, live from Lviv on the 20th day of the war in Ukraine. More deadly Russian strikes. 4 people are killed in a residential area of Kiev, but the capital's mayor insists its residents will stay and fight.
Right, see, if this is a the figures that are coming out about the deaths in Donetsk is about 23 and a lot more injured. The deaths in that training camp where, by a good few accounts, even in the Western press, there were members of the Foreign Legion there getting trained up and whatnot to go and fight alongside the Ukrainian army. That was in the 30s. And now all of a sudden it's like, four people died in a hit on the residential. Like, not that isn't tragic, and I'm not even questioning whether it happened or not. I'm not one of these people that just subscribe to the everything's fake, look, it's all dummies. But I think people felt, and maybe at one point I fell down the rabbit hole, fell off the deep end with that shit. But eventually I came round. And again, it was just putting my Spock ears on, cost-benefit analysis. What's easier? To fucking fake all that shit, or to have the Machiavellian head on to let off a bomb to blow up people for fucking your purposes? Political purposes, aka genuine terrorism. But will we hear this coming from Western quarters? I would argue not. Now, this got done last night, and if you want to go and search for the video, I might even, tonight, I've got the links and stuff, I might even share it. But I don't want to watch it again. Just horrible.
Everyone is angry.
Bodies blown up.
Talk to the people. They don't want to leave.
Российский премьер подчеркнул, надо усилить сотрудничество в рамках союзного государства.
Facing 15 years in jail, the editor from Russian state TV who interrupted her channel's broadcast to protest against the war. More than 3 million refugees have now left Ukraine in the 3 weeks since war began.
Well, if she ever gets out of jail, she's going to make a fortune in the Western press doing the rounds.
Positive noises around peace talks, with Ukraine's President Zelensky hailing pretty good progress.
Yay! I thought they were going to say pretty women there, but
meanwhile, the UK
I thought they were going
a further 350
bribe them with
Russian
some pretty women
and entities, including the former
some
President
hookers and blow, hookers and blow and vodka. Them being for where they're
speculation: the sanctioned billionaire Roman Abramovich is back in Moscow after his private jet lands in the Russian capital.
Well, that was pictures of him in an Israeli airport, actually.
Boris Johnson angers human rights and green campaigners ahead of a trip to Saudi Arabia.
See?
Well, hello, good afternoon, live from Lviv in the west of Ukraine. 20 days into Russia's invasion of this country, residential areas of the capital, Kiev, have again been damaged by heavy overnight shelling. The city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, says 4 people were killed. We'll be hearing from him in a few minutes' time. The UK has also slapped sanctions on 350 further Russian individuals and institutions who together have a combined worth of more than £100 billion. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that peace talks with Russia will continue today despite the bloodshed, and has appealed directly to Russian troops to surrender. Well, just a few blocks away from where we are is the St. Peter and Paul Garrison Church. In the last few hours, the funerals for 4 Ukrainian soldiers have taken place there. They were killed in the Russian attack on the Yadov air base near the Polish border on Sunday. The soldiers have been named as Colonel Ole Sashishin, born in 1966, Major Serhiy Melnik, born in 1983, Major Krylo Vyshinvanyi, who was born in 1986, and the youngest, also a major, Rostislav Romanchuk, born in 1991, making him just 20 or 21 years old. Well, earlier I spoke to Colonel Anton Miranovich, who told me what a difference the international support is currently making.
Oh, like that was the picking my nose there, trying to do more than one thing at a time. Was that like dead? Was that names of dead Ukrainians that she was rhyming off there? And they've got no self-awareness. They can't like they're not aware of how that can be perceived. In fact, we've got no choice in the matter. They're told to do this shit, you know. When it comes to war, talking heads are just fucking exactly that. Their ability to freestyle goes right out the window. But sitting there rhyming off all the dead Ukrainian names and all that, you know, trying to personalise them and make you fucking your heartstrings. Then in the same token telling you how good Ukraine is and all the losses that Russian soldiers or fucking the Russian army are suffering, and then saying it's not the Russian people, it's Putin, but punishing the Russian people. Not only the Russian people, they're punishing the people that support Chelsea in general. They're punishing anybody that does business, legitimate business with Russia in any form. It's fucked up, man. Absolutely fucked up. You've never seen the level of this shit ever. Makes me wonder what really is going on here, man. Anyway, let's get back to Sky News, man. And get my tea.
To Ukraine.
We feel very high level of support from the for international support. We're getting financial support, materials. We're getting even international legion that consists from the foreigners from all over the world. It's very, it makes us stronger because we can feel that we are not alone in this very tough situation for us, and we are stronger together anyways. If it will continue to be like this, if we will feel this, if the level.
Now, if you're to believe he was talking about the foreign legion makes them stronger and stuff. Sure.
Of the support and help will increase. I think we will be stronger, and we will do what we are supposed to do. We will defeat this Russian invaders.
Well, let's take you through then the day's developments here in Ukraine. The Polish, Czech and Slovenian prime ministers are travelling to Kiev, where they're expected to present an aid package from the European Union. Russian and Ukrainian negotiators are expected to continue a fourth round of talks via video link, which began yesterday. On the ground, the Red Cross says the situation in the besieged city of Mariupol is extreme and people are essentially being suffocated in the city.
Aye, right, so we had that bomb going off at the Peace Training Facility, where there's a lot of reports in press that there's 3 British special service dudes and some Dutch press. There was the reports of Dutch people missing. Russia reports, the Russian military report over 100 foreign fighters killed. Who knows what's really went on? But then, not too long after that, you got the attack on Donetsk, and the report I seen was a pro-Russian guy bouncing about going like, "Oh look, this is clearly an attack on citizens and citizens and citizens." But they were saying it was a missile that was shot out the sky, and then it showed you the Donetsk administration building. So like some would argue the Donetsk administration building being where they conduct and orchestrate all the administration of the Donetsk fucking army and shit. The Ukraine would argue that's a legitimate target in war. Anyway, so whether Ukraine legitimately targeted civilians as retaliation for what happened near the Polish border, or as the guy stated, it was shot down by anti-aircraft shit, and it wasn't like what I would say 200, 300 yards, no more than 3-4 football fields, something like that, away from the administration building of the Donetsk administration building, which the guy showed. Anyway, sorry to get panicky. So I don't believe that Ukraine side would just deliberately shell civilians, not in this day and age where everybody's got a camera and you can't get away with that sort of a shit. But I digress.
And the
that's just my opinion.
Organization for Migration says more than 3 million people
Remember,
have
if you
now
do
fled
get
Ukraine.
shits and giggles and appreciate what I do, just 3 thumbs up.
Let's show you what's been happening then across the country. As we've heard, Russian attacks on the capital Kiev are
Thumbs it
intensifying.
up, just like Mr.
With these residential
Magoo.
areas of the city itself and a metro station hit this morning. Another attempt to send aid into the besieged city of Mariupol appears to have been unsuccessful. However, the city council says 2,000 private cars have now been able to escape the city. About 300 residents managed to leave yesterday. Well, meanwhile, Russia says the entire Kherson region is now under their control. Forces are believed to be preparing for an advance on Odessa, Ukraine's third city and crucial economic hub. Elsewhere, the runway at Dnipro's airport was destroyed in an overnight attack, the region's governor has said. The city has, until recently, been seen as a safe haven for people escaping the fighting, but was targeted for the first time
Method Man.
last week. And in the
What's the
West,
famous saying? In war, the first casualty is the truth. So both sides are full of shite and there's just no way of really knowing what's going on. All you can do is do your best to shift through the shite and get some idea. But it is just that, some idea.
Began at dawn.
And no doubt,
neighborhood
even
Kiev,
through people's best
by
efforts, we're getting deceived at some points by very cleverly crafted shite. Because remember, propaganda only works
Moscow
if you don't know it's
It
propaganda.
only has strategic targets in its sights.
That's why
Not heroes.
Alex Jones, the
This
fucking
is where
AR-15
ordinary
dude,
Ukrainian families live.
works for a while
It's
until the
very
penny
difficult.
drops.
Yesterday we extinguished one fire, today another. People are dying, and the worst thing is that children are dying. They haven't lived their lives, and they have already seen this. This is the worst.
The same devastation has been visited on other Kiev neighborhoods. Daylight shows the true extent of the destruction caused by overnight Russian strikes.
Afternoon, T2.
Around 4:10 I was still asleep, and then I heard this loud explosion, so I jumped out of my bed. My first thought was that everything was okay, I'm still alive. My second thought was that my parents were still asleep, so I pushed open my door because it was stuck. I saw that my family was alive. We grabbed our things and tried to go out through the staircase, but everything was in smoke, so we decided to stay in the apartment and wait for the rescuers.
The Ukrainian president remains in the country and remains defiant. 20 days into the Russian invasion, he continues to implore European leaders to intervene and stop the bloodshed. Joining a meeting in London of Nordic and Baltic leaders, he warned the Russian aggression would not stop at his borders.
There has to be prohibition for the Russian Navy to use the naval ports of the world. We have to disconnect the Russian banks from SWIFT completely. We have to acknowledge Russia as a rough state, and
That's a good way of putting it, Davo. I've never heard it explained that way. Maybe it's been done 1,000,001 times. Now I think about it, I think I have actually heard it. But anyway, online is like the modern day Colosseum. Wasn't too long ago, it was the Wild West. With a bit of, with knowledge that you could get for YouTube videos. You could basically do anything you wanted online. I mean, look at all the fucking windy licking fucking troll fucking arseholes. Fucking artistic fucking rain men fucking spastics, man. Shouldn't be let near an electric toothbrush. Never mind an internet connection. But slowly and surely, as things progress, the Wild West of the internet's getting locked down, man. Like everything. Anyway, and we're witnessing it. Look, they've just kicked our tea off.
There has to be a trade embargo with Russia. This is something that we need and something you need as well.
Boris Johnson accepts more can and should be done to help Ukraine.
You talk about trying to protect Ukraine from the air, Volodymyr. Who can listen to your appeals without a sense of urgency? And this is a desperate, desperate moment. And I think we must try to do more, particularly to support you in protecting the Ukrainian people from bombardment by artillery and by aviation.
Has Boris had a haircut and combed his hair?
But as these
Look, Bart Simpson going to Sunday school there.
The onslaught on the ground continues. Some 3 million Ukrainians have been forced to flee the Russian bombardment. Those who have not been able to leave face an increasingly desperate.
Maybe I should say Windows 10 windy lickers. Oh no.
Well, the mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko,
Windows
has said
10
that 4
lickers.
people have been killed in airstrikes on the Ukrainian capital this morning. Our
Need
special
work on that.
correspondent Alex Crawford has spoken to him.
We see the result of bombing. Civilian people died. Last morning, we was one district of Bologna, where people killed. Today, another apartments building.
Oh, there's the boxer that come here. Put in place by the West.
We have not entrance to every floor, but right now, close to
I don't know about you,
actually
but
evacuate.
when I'm putting people into positions of power, I always want some cunt that's been hit in the head fucking a million and one times that he's...
People and your feeling about this.
The spirit right now, everyone is angry.
Right now, you don't know whether this guy's full of vodka or just he's fucking getting punched to the head so fucking much.
More energy to everyone, and everyone
Combed his hair with a balloon.
want to defend our city. Talk to the people. It's not disappoint.
Maybe that's how Bobo gets that look, man.
What Russian soldiers do it with civilians. But everyone, I talk to the people, simple people, instead to make evacuation.
It's almost as fucking pathetic as Arnold Schwarzenegger being in fucking politics, man. Thick motherfuckers just riding their celebrity into positions of political power. Unfucking real.
Right now, it's I call to everyone, every civilian, please spend the time, if it's possible, in bunkers.
And what about the grounds for possible war crimes?
T2, who wears he face? Is he Russian?
Criminal court. Do you think there is a
It's got to be Russian, isn't he? Got to be Russian, man.
It's international criminal case. What Russians do it with civilian people in our country.
Method man.
In other cities, Bucha,
God knows how many people in East Ukraine have or haven't died. It would be hard to find a figure that you wouldn't think that the person feeding it to you would have a dog in the fight to sway it one way or the other. But there's no doubt, man, that place has been getting pummeled.
Is that enough? What else should we do?
Do you know what I mean?
It's never enough.
And as you're saying, nobody mentions it, mate. That's why they had to shut down
Unity
RT.
around Ukraine is very important.
Forbidden
Because
fruit, though, for me,
we're
forbidden
fighting
fruit.
Not just for our city, we're fighting
Oh,
right
if
now,
people were wondering
not
where
just
I'm
for
getting
our country.
RT stream
We're
from,
fighting
straight from their
altogether for
website,
our
it
values,
seems to
our
be
principles.
working at the moment. Touchwood.
Tali Klitschko talking to Alex Crawford there. Well, here, the UK government has announced 350 new listings under its Russia sanctions regime, which includes the former president and Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. The restrictions were announced as the Prime Minister chaired a meeting of Nordic and Baltic leaders in London ahead of a controversial trip to Saudi Arabia later today. Well, our Deputy Political Editor Sam Coates is at Lancaster House in central London. On the sanctions first, Sam, there's a lot
If I was
added here.
semi-rich, man, I would get worried about this shit.
Wealth, this bunch
They can do it to Russians just by beating them in social media and TV and whatnot.
Moment. The British government have been scrambling
they can do it to any cunt.
rules in the last few days in order to allow essentially a sort of catch-up exercise with the European Union, where we can now sanction the same people that the EU have gone after. Liz Truss will stand up in the Commons
Ukraine
later today to outline the full details. But in addition to individuals, there are also luxury items that are being sanctioned today.
T2, where is Klitschko
one thing highlighted
from, buddy?
In an attempt really to put the squeeze further. But one of the questions as leaders from Baltic and Scandinavian
Who burned folk Method Man in Odessa?
Zelensky
Who was doing that?
What more can they do? And it's not clear just how much there is left in the locker for Western countries when it comes to putting pressure on President Putin by using simply mechanisms like sanctions.
I think that what the world is seeing is the return in Ukraine to the kind of brutality,
Comb these hair with a balloon.
Absolutely indiscriminate bombing of civilian centres of great cities that we last saw in the European continent 80 years ago. This is quite...
Is this guy fucking for reals? These people are fucking just black out on history. My knowledge of this war in Europe is limited, but I do know that fucking the place get bombed to fuck smithereens. Yugoslavia and Kosovo and the breakup of Yugoslavia and Serbia and all the arguing tribes in there that, as I said, I'm ignorant about, man. Never really looked into it. The one thing I do know is that it was done to fuck up entities that were kinda still pro-Russian, still like maybe influence from the old Soviet Union which they were under, you know. Kazakhstan, he's a Kazakhstani, that is fucked up, man. And now he's mayor of Kiev. Oh man. God, I was going to ask him to make me a chicken Kiev as well. Or a chicken Kiev! But no, I fucking won't bother. I'll ask him for some fucking Kazakhstani slop. I don't know. Maybe their cuisine is exquisite.
Unbelievable what is happening now in our continent, and we need to make sure that we build the strongest, widest possible coalition to ensure that Vladimir Putin does not succeed, that we wean ourselves off Russian hydrocarbons, and that's what the UK is helping to do.
So that was Boris Johnson making a broader point as we head into a round of global diplomacy that Boris Johnson is going to embark on in the next few days. He'll be heading to Saudi Arabia later today to meet with the Crown Prince. There is also clearly discussions underway in Iran. One of the consequences of that could be the release of Zaghari Ratcliffe, who's been in detention there from 2016.
Method Man, I've heard RT talk about
Boris Johnson was in the army just heard from Boris Johnson was an answer to the question whether or not it's suddenly become quite a good moment to be a repressive regime, given all of a sudden
I know,
like
especially here in the UK
and Iran, both countries that in the past
pretty much any
we've
country
sought,
that's
to
got
portray perhaps
maybe not
as
Russia,
a more distant
but
diplomatic ally,
if
rather
you're
than
sitting in a
somebody that we're
country
hugging
that's got nuclear bombs and a
Sam,
nuclear
thanks very
deterrent, you're all good, man. Nobody's going to rock up and fuck with you because you'll blow them off the planet.
Sky's Laura Bundock is in Brussels for us, and Laura, I understand that
whether you agree with nuclear weapons or not, it's a kind of fact, man. You got a nuclear deterrent, no cunt's going to rock up and fuck with you.
From the Russian side, certainly a sense of optimism, definitely a note of caution and a sprinkling of cynicism, I think, when it comes to any outcome.
Too much.
But there are high-level
virtual
talks with both sides taking place. Meanwhile, from the EU's perspective,
I know, I'm electricity only, mate. Fuck me, man. The bills are going through the fucking roof.
Poland, Slovenia and the Czech Republic on their way, as I speak, via train to Ukraine, to the capital, where they're due to
I'm on a train to Ukraine. I'm going to ride a country in Western using my big brain.
That's UK time. The journey is going to take them hours and hours, but they are there to show their unequivocal support. A delegation from the European Union. A very interesting
inflation
quote from
is
the
tax.
Polish Prime Minister on his Facebook page, saying at such breakthrough times for the world, it is our duty to be where history is forged, he said. Now, the three leaders will be there. They will discuss the packages of support that
Green
the
tie
EU
for Paddy's
is offering.
Day.
We've been hearing about this fourth set of sanctions from Brussels now. So this is increasing the existing packages. It's a ramping up of previous measures and new things as well, including a ban on the exports of Russian steel, the import of Russian steel, ban on the export of luxury goods, expensive cars, diamonds, caviar, cigars, you name it, going into Russia. And then also in more individuals targeted, more organisations. The biggest name, certainly that of
well, the Jews are on board then if they're shutting down the diamond trade to Russia. Oh my god, this is so funny. This is what war looks like now. They don't want to shoot you in the head. They just want to cancel you, try and rub you out for existence.
And of course, and as well as the economic sanctions, there is this huge humanitarian package of support the EU is offering. This open borders policy, no need for that. You have the military role as well, the EU providing military support.
Am I getting mixed up? Is there Muslims in? Is there like white Muslims in Ukraine? Because any Tom, Dick and Harry right now in Ukraine that wants to come to the UK or anywhere in Europe, they're going to be quids in, aren't they? Yeah, man. What about? Yeah, man. What about it, mate? The weapons that are getting used are the Western prescribed love bombs and bullets. So there's nothing to see here. We're using made in the West, predominantly the UK. Predominantly the UK, I do believe. So don't question that shit. Just Ukraine, and Yemen's getting hot with dumb weapons. Oh, I heard some cunt even seen barrel bombs again today. You know when they were arguing about how Syria was killing people. No. It's okay if the bombs come out of a plane, but when the bombs come out, I mean, they're not even made in a factory. They're just a barrel with explosives in them. Well, that's what a bomb is. It's just a fucking metal fucking thing with lots of shit that goes boom when it hits the ground. And their argument was how they were killing people. Not the fact that people's getting fucking killed. It's crazy, the twisted, weird, warped fucking framing of arguments. And it's all PR, it's all spin and twist. And that isn't a dance move. Although it should be spin and twist. But right now, I've got a sore neck, so I couldn't do my spin and twist. because the Orthodox are anti-LGBT too. Inflation is a hidden tax on the poor. Keep them poor. Aye. T2. I agree with that. Don't know, they're persecuting Russian Orthodox. Who's persecuting them, mate? The Ukrainians? See, this is fucked up, man. Like, Putin's ex-KGB, and the KGB came from a very strict kind of, what would you say, oh my god, what do you call some atheist? That's it. Now, am I not right in saying that the KGB, obviously being coming out of the Soviet Union and communism, were strictly atheists? That's where Putin cut his mustard. Barrel bombs bad, vaccine good. There was a narrative Muslims but commies killed him off. Followed Omar. Putin's no more a maniac than any other leader of a country. He just happens to be a leader of a country that has a big fucking army and can kick cunts in the nuts. And he seems to be on an opposite side of a line. Again, I heard talking heads today talking about, oh look, there's that woman with the pre-recorded bit to look how well lit she is. You can tell she done that in her basement on a smartphone.
И мне сейчас очень стыдно за это. Стыдно за то, что позволяла говорить ложь с экрана телевизора. Стыдно за то, что позволяла зомбировать русских людей. Мы промолчали в 2014 году, когда все это только начиналось. Мы не вышли на митинги, когда Кремль отравил Навального. Мы просто безмолвно наблюдали за этим античеловеческим режимом. И сейчас от нас отвернулся весь мир. И еще 10 поколений наших потомков не отмоются от позора этой братоубийцы.
Pink bombs that identify as passive.
Мы русские люди, думающие и умные. Только в наших силах остановить все это безумие. Выходите на митинги, ничего не бойтесь. Они не могут пересажать нас всех.
Well, in fact, the French president has just been speaking and has said that the French embassy, rather, in Russia will offer protection to journalists.
The peace talks are meant to be going well.
A little bit later. Meanwhile, Russian...
But think of the hokey the Western media's reporting. In one breath they're telling you how well they're doing and how shit that look at the Russia's losses and they're getting in a quagmire and they're doing shite and all that. Then on the other breath you hear the president begging the West for fucking bombs, bullets, Air Force, pilots, men, foreign legions. Crazy. It's mental how schizophrenic they're willing to openly be.
Jack Taylor to analyse the latest footage coming out of
Putin is quite sensible from his moves compared to what NATO has done.
To the Daily,
at least.
You get your podcasts from.
Well, I'm no military strategy expert and all that. Time will tell.
At 5 p.m, 6 p.m, and 10.
Reading between the lines of listening to both sides. It sounds like Ukraine's struggling. And the West isn't willing to go in there other than to just flood the place with weapons. Maybe the goal is to fucking kill as many of these motherfuckers for both sides as we can. Oh, ow, 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 ow,
10 p.m. on live here. And just a heads up as well,
oh,
coming up at
psychos,
9
yep.
this evening, we'll have a special edition of our business programme, Ian King Live, looking at the impact that the war in Ukraine is having on the global economy. Well, life in Lviv, as you can see, continues here. The Ukrainian flags are here, the main...
And remember, if there is peace talks, or to have peace talks succeed, both sides have to walk away with enough shit to sell to their own citizens victory. That's what they need. So, aye, I'm sorry. But like, I can think outside loud. So, like, Russia's talking about they want the demilitarization of Ukraine. Ukraine saying they want the army out. One of Russia's stated goals is to get the Donetsk and Donbass, I think, two regions or whatever, to have their own autonomous, special, recognised status. For Ukraine to recognise Crimea as Russian as well. These are the things that Russia's gunning for. I mean, all the Ukrainians need to do is wrap that shit up in a package that they can walk back to their citizens and go, ding 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 ding, play the piano with his dick, and then go, aye, well, this is what we've got. What that is, I do not know. And when, if fingers crossed, that's what will pan out.
Square, there's children, life goes on in the West, but everybody very mindful after the funerals this morning of those 4 senior officers, how serious the situation is elsewhere in the country, and after that attack also in the West on Sunday. But meanwhile, Boris Johnson has underscored his commitment to his drive for energy independence. I'll be discussing
quick show us a woman and baby.
Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Back in just a moment.
Why did it not give you a timestamp? Oh, look at that, man. How fucking... Oh, man, we've actually got adverts for a war. Wow, they've got adverts for a war.
I'm David Blevins.
Well, look at that. They stole my fucking world thing.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's senior in Belfast.
Nothing has
sovereignty in Northern Ireland, the very issue that's been the source of tension here for generations. Century. Conflict
of Northern Ireland.
Today,
depressed enough.
Deal.
There's a guy in a skirt.
Far east in this and not a
Is this going to packages? Is that what's happening?
Mistakes that were made in Crimea. So let me bring in somebody who was there at the time from the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Michael Bossack.
Russia unblocked a canal that leads to Crimea.
We made a terrible mistake back in 2014.
A canal from Russia? T2, I take it.
And it's also
I'm assuming.
Ukrainians have said for a long time. I think a big mistake was also not putting in a lot of biting sanctions before the Russians invaded, because it was too late once they came in, and I think they're masters at evading that sort of thing. I think you're going to see even more of a bromance with China for them to get past some of these sanctions. So absolutely, I agree.
So how would the world tolerate that? That's been the big question. Certainly we heard from the US State Department last night, none too happy about any cooperation
Putin
with China.
wants to destroy the
militarily,
West.
they said, economically, or just in general support. So what does the world
Good
do
luck,
about
Putin.
this?
I don't think Mr. Putin would have done what he's doing now without the permission, if you will, or the imprimatur of China. Him and Xi Jinping have, kept tight relationships all the way through COVID as well, when no one was talking to.
It is unbelievable how they're trying to drag China into this shit as well. Like, maybe they know more than me and they're privy to information that I'm not. But they're basically sitting there, like, China's out going like that, it's fake news, what the fuck, Russia's no asked us for nothing, we're not going to join in, we don't want to join in. Every statement I've heard on the news from China. They're there saying, we want peace. Peace is the way forward. We need peace. We need talks. And then I heard this, oh, that's right. Oh, fuck. I heard them this morning, like, and this was coming for the guy that looks like Penfold for fucking Danger Mouse. And the government, I can't remember his name, but he does look like Penfold. Hopefully they've got him on here. And he's out there saying, well, China haven't came out and absolutely categorically condemned what Russia is doing, and we need and want every country to come out and condemn Russia in the strongest possible terms. You're like, what the fuck? You're basically, so China, you want, here China, hop on one leg and cluck like a chicken, bitch. You know what I mean? China are probably listening to that, go, fuck you. Who used to tell us what to and what not to say? We've already came out and said we're not supporting Russia in the war. We're not giving them any support militarily or economically. Oh my god. Let's get back to the bullshit, man. I need to come down before I get upset.
To each other. So I don't know how far the Chinese cooperation will go, because don't forget also, they have very big interests here in Ukraine, especially in terms of agriculture, precious minerals. Ukraine has a lot.
T2, you know what? See, you saying the more I see the mainstream media, the more I want Ukraine to lose. I'm assuming you're kind of saying that tongue in cheek, right? I get it, man. I'm on the same. You can hear kind of. Like, I just hate getting treated like a fucking imbecile. Right? I understand there's obviously that this shit must work on some level with some people. You know, you're just blindly unquestioning morons who will, again, we've heard it earlier on, will paint anybody questioning anything about this at all, paint them as pro-fucking Putler or pro-Russian. Fuck that. I don't want to stay under fucking Putler or Russia. Fucking, I like whiskey, not vodka. But it's pathetic how obvious the propaganda is, and how stupid they treat you, and how stupid they need you and assume that you are to try and get away with this shit.
So we may see a similar scenario playing out as we did in Kazakhstan, where China held Russia back to a certain extent, but of course this all remains to be seen.
What do we do about gas and oil then? Obviously the Prime Minister speaking about the need to look elsewhere for energy. Saudi Arabia, for example, you know, even Iran, Venezuela, these aren't countries necessarily that are better. So what does the world do?
Well, with all due respect to leaders from the United Kingdom, they've been doing business with dirty money for quite some time, allowing these oligarchs to come to the United Kingdom, buy these big properties with laundered money. But I think, yeah, that's the only way out for the time being, is to go to some of these countries where we don't necessarily have good relations with and get gas and oil from them. And also another step will need to be more so for the United States is allow things like fracking to happen. We're going to have to go back on some of those environmental promises in order to keep energy security.
Yeah, back to the North Sea is the point he's making as well, isn't it? Where do you see this going now? While you were here in Crimea, did you ever see this as the end game? You know, Crimea first, then the rest of Ukraine. Was that a prospect then?
I think we felt that way. When I was with the OSCE at that time, we saw the invasion of the illegal annexation of Crimea, and also we were there when the little green men walked into Donetsk, and that back then there wasn't much opposition pushing them back. But now, of course, the Ukrainian armed forces are much stronger. I'm afraid right now is that with Mr. Putin suffering great losses, they're running out of apparently certain ammunition, is that they're going to resort to their old tactics that they've used elsewhere. Lobbing grad missiles.
Right, so all the losses and all that they're getting, but I can't even remember the guy's name. The president of Ukraine, the guy that plays the piano with his dick, he's begging him and his administration that are ex-production company workers are begging for the West to step in and help them.
Shelling populated centres into submission. And then the other thing that we see happening right now, of course, is the weaponization of migration.
Well, Method, man, think of this. Boris is over begging Saudi to up the production of oil to lower the price. And America's talking about dropping, or they have dropped, sanctions, oil sanctions against Venezuela, meaning that they can go and start buying oil off them again.
We could see up to a quarter of Ukraine's population, 10 million people, going across borders. Those numbers are trending that way at the moment. So Europe and countries further away, like my own Canada, have to be prepared to.
Well, T2, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here, right? I've never looked at the demographics of Northern Ireland, right? But I would imagine the loyalists have the demographics locked down. Because just as in Israel, the powers that be that are setting up are moving into those areas, have moved into those areas of the world and want to dominate it through the use of democroscam. It's no hard to do the math to see how many house niggers you need to get into that area so you can win the election. Zelensky, that's it. Shit.
Really open their hearts to migrants from here.
That's interesting. I mean, that's an enormous refugee crisis. But look around you here. There's children over there blowing bubbles. There's buskers in the square. I mean, some of these people here might be refugees who've settled here. This was a country that was
Where the fuck are they?
from that Russian build-up and then the subsequent invasion and the bombardment that we see
Oh man,
now.
look at that, man. Look, the Russians are really obviously fucking them up hard.
Here at the moment, playing out in Lviv and what's happening in the east and southern parts of Ukraine. But I talked to a lot of people here, let there be no mistake. There's a lot of east and southern. What we're seeing here at the moment.
Oh. I think we've just caught. Honestly, listen, turn this up. Put your headphones in. I think we might have just caught some paranormal activity live on Sky News. Listen, I think we can hear ghosts.
It's almost a split-screen reality, what we're seeing here at the moment, playing out in Lviv and what's happening in the...
Oh my god, that is a fucking ghost! Can you hear that?
East and southern parts of Ukraine. But I talked to playing out in Lviv and what's happening in the east and southern parts of Ukraine. But I talked to a lot of people here, and let there be no mistake, there's a lot of anxiety here.
Oh shit, I missed it.
At the moment, playing out in Lviv and what's happening in the east and southern parts of Ukraine. But
that's creepy,
yeah,
man.
It's almost a split-screen reality, what we're seeing here at the moment. Yeah, it's almost a split-screen reality, what we're seeing here at the moment, playing out in Lviv and what's happening in the east and southern parts of Ukraine. But I talked to a lot of people here, and let there be no mistake, there's a lot of anxiety.
Fucking ghosts.
Don't forget, this is the birthplace of Ukrainian nationalism. This is where a lot of dissidents who were locked up in the Gulag came from. This is where a lot of the Ukrainian diaspora, including in the United Kingdom, traced their roots back to. So it's very, very important in the Ukrainian psyche, but perhaps even to Mr. Putin to strike it, I'm afraid to say.
Well, one person who knows that too well is the former president, Petro Poroshenko, who I'm going to speak to now. Michael, thank you very much for your time.
You couldn't get a better name, Petrodollar Poroshenko.
Yet again, another bombardment in Kiev, the city where you are suffering deeply, former president.
Is that Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? Is that the guy that owns the chocolate factories?
Maybe one of the most biggest of the world.
Rebel, Livy has been invaded. You just found them on a very good day where the kids were out putting money and singing in bubbles and putting money in fountains and shit.
From here, and definitely this is the changes of the Russian tactics. Because if before he wanna keep the cities untouched and make a attempt to move further on Ukrainian territory, When Ukrainian armed forces, which we together created starting from the year 2014, and I'm proud that for the last 8 years, including my presidency, we create one of the strongest and most efficient army in the world. We stopped the Russian army, and Russia paid a huge price by 13,000 Russian soldiers, which were stay here for.
One of the strongest, most efficient armies in the world that needs help for everywhere else to start World War III because they're getting a doing off of Russia, but they're not, they're winning. But help us, give us help, but we're winning. Reminds me of, now I might be getting the guy's name wrong, do you ever remember, I think it was the Second Gulf War. It was a lot more televised, and you would get the wee Chemical Alley guy, I think his nickname was. And he'd be out there with bombs going off in the background and shit. No, we are winning the war. We are going to win. We are going to be victorious. We will drive the Americans away from Baghdad. In hindsight, all I had to go on was like the Sky News telling you that they'd conquered Baghdad. And him telling you that they hadn't, so who the fuck knows what was telling the truth in hindsight?
Forever, and with the big numbers of the wounded and prisoners of war. And with this situation, I think that we should
Your cat's watching
this effective action from Ukrainian army. And for these things, we need two additional steps. Point number one. This is the second front. We are not waiting for the NATO troops, NATO soldiers, but we definitely need everything from nutrition to ammunition.
I thought you're winning, fucking silver fucking fox. Make your mind up. Yes, and we don't need your boys and girls to come and die in the name of vodka. Fucking assholes. Fucking East European fucking pieces of shit.
And the
fucking
Ukrainian
about with too many gypsies.
Have something to fight with the Russian soldiers. And it seems to me Churchill said,
I thought you just told us that you'd been building up your armed forces into the most efficient fucking armed forces in the world. Since 2014, you're like, yes, we need everything from nutrition to bombs and bullets. But our armed forces are the best in the world. Send us sandwiches. My lordy, can these motherfuckers hear themselves? I mean, you need to rely on somebody, and maybe because of the digital age, there are people out there who have an attention span less than 10 seconds. Bing, bing, boom, boom, ding, ding, boop, 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 boop. They need to rely on you having a attention span less than 10 seconds fucking long to forget that the guy just told you that he's got the most efficient army that he built. So his government started to build in 2014. Now we need everything from nutrition to underwear. All our underwear is got skid marks, full of shit.
Before the World War II, if you give me the tools, we do your job. This is exactly the same time, and that would be easy, understandable, mentioning your great Prime Minister. And point number two, this is the situation for the Lend-Lease from the all NATO member states. We are ready to pay for that. We are ready to lease that. But please deliver for us not only anti-tank and anti-aircraft, but jet fighters, especially the old Soviet jet fighters, MiG.
Oh, hold on a sec, mate. Like, all you do is need to Google Ukraine's Amazon weapons of fucking war wish list, and you can go on there and donate. Listen, you fucking grey-haired fucking piece of shit. Who's going to fly planes? Who's going to fly them? You've only got pilots that can fly MiGs, you fucking retard. So you're going to ask America? Oh my god. Fuck you, you fucking granda.
29, which you don't need. And with that situation, we return the control. We don't need your pilot, but we return the control on the airspace. And that would be the cover for the nuclear power station. That would be the cover for civilian object. And that would be the cover for the Ukrainian troops which protect in Europe. Because you should understand, we fight not only for our soil. We fight for the democracy, for the freedom, and for the West. And Putin is making aggression not against Ukraine. He making aggression in every single nation of the NATO, of Europe.
I'm glad to see that you know more about what's going on with Putin. The guy you're at war with, funnily enough, by the way. Not that that would cloud your judgment, you fucking idiot. Oh my god. He's calling for fucking people, your citizens, to go and fight for these fucking vodka monkeys. Fuck, you want to fight Russia, you fucking dicks? Fight them yourself. Fucking moron.
And the history of the free world is being forged here in Ukraine right now. And with this situation, definitely.
Mr. Poroshenko, but we were at a funeral today of 4 very senior officers, Ukrainian officers.
See, I heard there was reports that all the Ukrainian citizens made tunnels of Molotov cocktails. They didn't last long, they fucking ended up drinking them all. Dumbass fucking idiots. Sergey, pass me the bottle. Looks see-through. Oh, fucking like rocket fuel. Give me more of that.
Who were killed in the attack, as you know, on the airbase in Yavoriv on Sunday. 4 very senior officers. How many more people are you willing to sacrifice? How many more Ukrainian soldiers, militia, volunteers? You know, will you keep fighting?
Point number 1, exactly on this Yavoriv Center for Security and Peacekeeping. I was with the leaders of United States, Great Britain, and this is the just true in my heart. But this is the question for you. Do you understand that Ukraine do not give up, and Ukraine will fight forever until the victory? But please, we need...
Rebel, see the way things are going, right? Maybe... what was the thing that all the conspiracy media was harping on about, the Overton window and all that shit? Right? So maybe the people who crunch all the data are sitting looking at it and going, right, we need to act sooner rather than later, because the longer we leave it, the more sceptical and problematic our own population is going to become to us doing X, Y or Z to fuck over X and Y. Who we do need to fuck over, because if we don't fuck over, their economy's going to overtake us by 2050, and the biggest economy has the biggest army and rules the world. Woo woo! Thomas!
That would be our own job. And my question, how many died? Just in Yavoriv, this is 37 people were killed by the Russian missiles attack, and this is happening in less than 20 miles from the NATO border. And it was a symbolic attack, because exactly on this...
It was symbolic because that fucking centre was full of all the Western idiot fucking morons who fucking were over there like, I'm doing what's right, fighting Putin. If not just pure mercenaries. I mean, The centre was a training centre, a peace training centre. How are you going to train all these peacekeepers? Well, we're going to train them how to shoot fucking bullets towards people that don't quite fucking see our peace the way we see our peace. You can't throw your piece off a 20-storey flat. 6 million Jews will testify to that.
Center for Peacekeeping and Security, which was established for the very efficient symbol for the cooperation between Ukraine and NATO, which was opened with my presence. Now it was under missiles attack of Russia. And this is the symbol that Putin never stop on Ukraine. Putin go further. And this type of funeral of Ukrainian hero who sacrificed their lives for for the freedom and for the democracy, and more your support, less victim. Very simple arithmetic. And delay with your support means more victim, more blood, more lives of Ukrainian civilians, and more lives of Ukrainian soldiers. And you in Lviv understand what does it mean. You in Lviv understand.
I love the way these fucking Ukrainian fucking arseholes are blaming every cunt part for themselves about all the death, and the way they've got a crystal ball telling us how we're going to get hot. It's only a matter of time before Russia attacks NATO. Do they have a death wish? Pound for pound, NATO would kick the shit out of fucking Russia. Even with their full military might. No nuclear weapons, just military on military. Russia would get the shit kicked out of them. And they know that. Fucking hell, man. These people, man. Look at them standing round with all these armed people around them, probably in some enclave somewhere, safe as houses, but puts on a flat jacket for the fucking TV. Same as all the journalists and all that, trying to act like they're under threat.
Surprise the world by our unity. From the 24th of February, we have now completely different universe. And we also surprise the world with the global unity.
On day 20, when... Yeah, Mr. Poroshenko, we're nearly 3 weeks in, or your country is nearly 3 weeks into this war. Just briefly, if you can, do you have a better idea now than you did at the start what President Putin wants out of this?
Oh. Please, don't trust Putin. Please,
pro-Putin.
Don't be afraid of Putin. Because Putin go...
Please, go and murder Putin on our behalf. I can't be arsed. I got some knitting to do and my washing to hang up. But why don't you go and do it, Britain and UK? Please, drop off helicopters. Hold on, I'll get my Amazon weapons of war wish list. I'll just email it to you. Okay? And you can just buy me everything that I want. Otherwise, Russia's going to attack you. Even though they don't want to. And it'd be a death sentence. But anyway. Man, it's only a matter of time before we see some fucking idiot on either side doing a false flag or whatever, man. I mean, like, see... I said this... I can't remember when they were... Was it... What was it? It was during the invasion. You remember before the invasion when the West were warning about an invasion, said that Russia was going to do an invasion before Russia done an invasion? Remember that? And they were out there going, Russia's going to do a false flag. False flag, false flag, false flag. For a pretext to go into Ukraine. And you're like, fucking hell, man. I don't know, like maybe 10 years ago. If you go back 10 years ago to think that the main news, the old school mainstream news outlets were out there parroting Alex Jones style fucking rhetoric, man. A mental a chicken fucking Oriental. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back to petrol. Is this petrol dollar? This is petrol dollar Poroshenko.
As far as we together allow them to go. And if we will be strong and united, we stop Putin. If you find out a compromise with Putin, Putin go further. Today, he has a compromise for demanding Ukrainian Crimea or Ukrainian Donbass. Tomorrow, he will demand from the Great Britain, Scotland. Day after tomorrow, he will demand from the United States.
Hold on, you fucking bastard. I just heard you talk about fucking Scotland.
It's Alaska. For demanding Ukrainian Crimea or Ukrainian Donbass. Tomorrow, he will demand from the Great Britain, Scotland.
What the fuck? Mate, you've been... I don't know if this is Charlie in the Chocolate Factory character, I hope so. You've been eating too many fucking chocolate fucking bars. Rotted your fucking brain. What's Crimea got to do with Scotland and the UK, you fucking dick?
Tomorrow, he will demand from the United States, Alaska. Putin wants to destroy not only Ukraine, but the whole West, including UK and US. And the earlier we stop him, the more on the eastern flank of the Europe, that would be much cheaper price which world will pay for the peace and security. Don't try to make a compromise with Putin, because that would be Munich in the year 1930.
Calling for World War III, the fucking dick.
Hitler with the Chamberlain.
Oh, there's Hitler.
Think that they deliver the peace.
Get nuclear
This
in.
is not
You need to
working.
get nuclear
And
in.
Putin and Hitler is very, very, very similar position. But believe me, and remember, Ukraine is only the first shot. And we need to be united to stop Putin now in Ukraine. And this is not assistance of Ukraine. This is not help of Ukraine. By the way, the terminal also matter that this is not a conflict. This is the war.
Petro Poroshenko, I
Sounds like he's at a fucking disco.
apologise for interrupting you. I do need to bring people some breaking news, but thank you very much indeed for joining
Or maybe
us,
it's
Petro
her.
Poroshenko there, former Ukrainian president. Well, let's bring you an update then from
No, there's
Mariupol.
war
And
thrown
officials say
leave
now
for
that
live.
2,000 civilian vehicles have left the besieged port city on an evacuation route. The city council also saying another 2,000 cars are waiting to leave along that humanitarian corridor, which runs west for more than 160 miles to the Ukraine-led city of Zaporizhzhia. So that, in a sense, for many people is a breakthrough, trying to get some of those people who are deemed to be starving, short of water, 20 days of bombardment, horrendous living conditions, and certainly all of Ukraine will celebrate if they start to try and get some of those residents out of Mariupol. Well, let's get a broader look then at the situation on the ground. Charlotte Lomas has more from the Sky News Centre.
I'm going to continue this to the
Well,
top
it's
of the
now
hour
day 20
and then do the
of
off.
this war in Ukraine, and let's now have more analysis of what's been going on. I'm joined by our defence and security analyst Michael Clark. Bring us up to date then, Michael. What's been happening today?
Well, Charlotte, I mean, two areas of interest from a military point of view in Kiev and in the south in the push for Odessa.
Ooh.
And
military
if we look at
dude.
Kiev first, talk me through what's been happening. We know there's been heavy shelling reported.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to have been rocket attacks, because the Russians are still a little bit too far away from the centre of Kiev. But this encirclement of the city has taken a lot longer.
Method
than most
man,
thought.
I'm sick of this
They are
shite
there
as
in
well,
the
but it
northwest
depends
and they're
how
there
you
in the
approach it.
northeast. And we
I
see
mean,
from this
see
that
if
the
you
fact
understand
they've
that
lost Hostomel
this
airfield, the Ukrainians, but the fact that they've
has
been
went
fighting
on,
in Irpin
is
and
going
Brovary
on,
and Bruka,
and will continue to go on
is
in
very
hundreds of
interesting
different
because that's
forms all
just
over the
about
globe in
artillery
lots of different
range
ways.
for Russian
Arseholes.
howitzers.
And what's the howitzer?
manipulating
Howitzers are tracked artillery. They look like tanks, but they've got a very big gun on. It's a 152
so that they can
gun,
gain power,
6 or 8 rounds a minute. If
and all the forms it takes,
these outer areas of Kiev,
and how it changes over the years as well, because of all the new technology and whatnot.
To pummel the whole city,
and
rather than
easier said than done, I know, mate.
Occasionally, which is what they're doing at the moment. So there'll be a big moment for the Russians if they're only even on 3 sides.
Strapping your emotion in for the ride. Just fucking sit and watch it as an observer.
To the south, mainly because
think of yourself as Nero.
This is the Dnieper River,
fiddling
forested
as
areas.
Rome burns.
A big force, a heavy force like the Russians have got here, isn't moving very quickly, and their bridging equipment doesn't seem to be very good. But if they're on 3 sides, they can still threaten to pummel Kiev with their howitzers as and when they get them in place.
OK, then let's take a look a little bit further south then. You mentioned there to Odessa and the advance to Odessa. Describe what's going on
See you later, Davo.
Well, the issue is Mykolaiv. It's an important port city. It straddles the delta of the river South Bug. The Russians, again, are finding it really difficult to get over the river. They're not even near it at the moment. And as you can see there, it may be...
And this is just a complete weird stab in the dark, right? I've got no reason to say this other than just, I don't know, applying a bit of logic.
Across the river,
but I think Russia
just 18 miles from Odessa going westwards. And if they had to come from the north, they're more like 120, 140
I don't think Russia wants to fuck
so
her.
they've got a long
but
way
I think Russia wants to take it up to the river.
Michael Clark, thank you so much for
and
that
use that as a natural
today. 3 weeks
border.
almost into this war, and as you heard, there's still so much going on and no
And
sign of any
demilitarise
let up in this fighting.
From the river
Charlotte, thank you. Well,
to the Russian
defense
border.
analyst Michael Clark will be answering your questions on the Ukraine crisis in a live Q&A at 7 p.m. And so
Zelensky's regime's fault.
news@sky.com, or you can find us on
It's
Twitter
Putler's fault,
Sky
mate.
News.
Putler's fault.
That will be later on. Now, the Justice Secretary Dominic Raab has offered Britain's help to the International Criminal Court to assist in trying to prosecute Russian President Vladimir Putin and his regime for war crimes. Russia has been accused of deliberately firing on civilian areas and using banned weapons to carry out indiscriminate attacks. Sky's Mark Stone has more.
It was a defining image of the war so far.
Defining images.
That moment last Wednesday which captured such cruelty. But if there had been some hope then, a sign that she and her baby would be okay, well, it wasn't to be.
While we were resuscitating her and treating her for shock, we carried out a caesarean section and took out her lifeless child. More than 30 minutes of resuscitation didn't produce any results. Then more than 30 minutes of resuscitation of
I
the
hope
mother
that's
didn't
not
produce
true.
any results. Both died.
In the same city over the past 24 hours.
Well, apologies, we're going to head straight to the United Nations and Russia's ambassador there, Vasily Nevedov.
Yes. He looks like a Bond villain, doesn't he?
That there are paragraphs in the resolution which are not humanitarian and they should not be in.
If Putler can get charged for war crimes, exactly what you're saying, Method Man, Blair and Bush for Iraq and Afghanistan, and who was it? Who was the King Dong during Libya? Was it Cameron? Pretty sure it was Cameron.
In the resolution of the humanitarian situation yesterday, under the title of breaking news, we learned that the French and Mexican ambassadors came to you and announced that instead of the Security Council, they will move this resolution to the General Assembly, which is not standard practice, as you all know, but they were citing the inability to adopt this resolution in the Council because of Russia. As I said, we made it clear that we would be prepared to adopt
T2 is now a sir, I do believe,
I think
which makes him untouchable. I think I would say.
We will
it's got the protection of the Queen.
Our own draft, which is humanitarian, and we will put it into the blue shortly, and we'll see whether the Security Council can or cannot fulfill its mission adopt a resolution which will be on the humanitarian situation in Ukraine with clear humanitarian provision like call for negotiated ceasefire, evacuation of civilians, respect of international humanitarian and human rights law, condemnation of attacks against civilians and civilian objects, safe and unhindered passage, unhindered access of humanitarian assistance, etc. So I wanted to advise you in advance before we came forward, and as I said, will be shortly.
Ambassador, will you take questions, sir? Thank you.
Both sides are accusing each other of the same shit.
Ambassador,
you're hitting civilians. No, you're hitting civilians. No, you're hitting civilians. No, you're hitting civilians. It's like fucking big brother fucking arguing with small brother, man.
Will Vladimir Putin
He hit me first.
Surrender your assault and barbaric war against Ukraine? Will you stop in the sake of humanity?
When the goals of the special military operations are achieved, it will stop. It was announced from the very beginning. I must tell you that I appreciate your humane approach, but I didn't see that humane approach. In all these 8 years when Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian armed forces and radicals were shelling and bombing Donetsk and Lugansk without any reproach, basically any reproach from the international community, from the no comments from the UN officials on that issue. Yesterday,
Cameron and Sarkozy for Libya.
The Ukrainian armed forces who used cluster munitions in which Russia is accused
heist
from based on sources which cannot be identified. But they used the cluster munition in the center of Donetsk. 21 persons died, 30 plus wounded. No comments. I was looking through news, including Western media today. I didn't come across a single article on that barbaric attack. Yesterday, Secretary General made a stakeout. He didn't say a word on that attack. Only one asked
you do hear
he said
like
that
the dog
if that was deliberate, it is condemnable. I must tell you that we are very much concerned how UN officials, including the top ones, including the Secretary General, including Under Secretary General Rosemary DiCarlo, are assessing the situation in Ukraine, accusing Russia of indiscriminate attacks. Secretary General yesterday said that although that attack is condemnable, the most of the destruction comes from the Russian sources, as if he was comparing two events and implying that that attack didn't deserve condemnation.
Ambassador, it's Pamela Falk from CBS News, as you know. My question is about a ceasefire. What would it take for Russia to have an overall, not just humanitarian,
she's got a voice like a Muppet for Sesame Street.
Need to do, and what's in your resolution? What are you proposing on humanitarian corridors? Thank you.
I cited a few things obvious for a humanitarian resolution. You will see it soon, shortly, because it will be published.
For an overall ceasefire.
Negotiated ceasefire. Of course, it should be negotiated, and the ceasefire will take place when conditions that were put forward by Russia will be implemented, and they are very well known.
And could you just lay it out what those conditions are?
Demilitarization of Ukraine, denazification of Ukraine, no threat which would come from that territory, from that country to Russia, no joining NATO. President Zelensky announced just a few hours perhaps ago that he understands that Ukraine will not join NATO, citing in particular his disappointment with the way NATO reacted, but the goal of Ukraine joining NATO is in the Ukrainian constitution, so it should be dropped from there first and foremost. I think that's enough.
Question, Ambassador, on the
parallels we hear, sir, between the US invasion of Iraq in 2003. You've been very critical. Russia has been very critical. You've also been very critical of the 2011 invasion attack on Libya led by NATO. Are there parallels between what the US did in 2003 and the unilateral actions we are seeing from Russia and the criticism that is being leveled against UN officials that are simply seeking to defend the UN Charter?
Every situation is unique, but I do not recall the level of outrage, hysterics that U.S. invasion of Iraq.
They tried to get Kofi Annan fired.
Sorry?
They tried to get Kofi Annan fired, so I would argue there were...
No resolutions, nothing, if you remember. No resolution of the Security Council, nothing that would be comparable to what we're experiencing today. Thank you very much.
Again, I really can't hear you.
Well, T2, I don't know about that, to be honest, right? Who knows? Who knows? Like in war, Machiavellian motherfuckers win, and Machiavellian motherfuckers are capable of blowing up, are capable of all sorts, including what you say. And I would say both sides are equally as capable. But talking about the cluster bomb that recently fell in Donbass that this Bond villain dude was talking about, the footage that I watched was a guy on the scene running about documenting all the bodies lying everywhere and all that, and he showed you the shell, showed you the writing on the shell, showed you the munitions that came out. It's a cluster bomb. And he was running around. It's obviously aimed at the civilians. This is an obvious strike on civilians. It's an obvious strike on civilians. And then in the same, a couple of sentences later or whatever, he's talking about people are theorising and talking about how it was shot down by anti-aircraft stuff. Then at some point, and this is like with like he's still in and around the place with all the bodies and whatnot. And then he sprawls the camera over and points to a big building and goes, "That's the Donetsk administration building over there." Now, number one, the administration building would be a target, I'd imagine. Right? You can argue legitimate or not. You could argue civilian military. But you would say it could be a target because it's got the organisation. Anyway, you could argue it's a target. Being an important building, you could understand why it would have air defences, good ones, close to it, in and around it. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility of that missile, that coming towards the administration building, getting shot down by anti-aircraft and falling on the civilian population, causing the damage that it did. Meaning that the Ukrainians meant to blow up the Donetsk administration building, not the civilians. Now, I'm no expert, I'm not on the ground, I'm just injecting another way of it, another possibility, rather than just jumping or being comfortable with the version of events which most closely keeps you happy, suits your worldview, suits the way you think things work. You need to keep everything. You don't need to do anything actually, but it's always worthwhile keeping all options open until you're 1,010% sure one way or the other. And right now it's obvious the Western press are blanking it out. Tune in tonight at 9 bells when I'm doing not the Infowars Nightly News, and I'll show you like the Google search when you Google Donetsk and all that, and the Yahoo search and all that jazz, and compare them, and you can see how it's been Google washed. Well, it's not been Google washed, but you would think the death of over 30 or something. Alright, so there's Donetsk. Is that the Google search? Globe and Mail, I don't know who that is. Russia accuses Ukraine of missile strike on Donetsk, and there's a picture of it. And RT apparently, I don't know if you've seen that yourself, RT was reporting that that's now getting used by other outlets claiming Russia attacking Ukraine. Dozens of missiles struck close to the border. Oh, that's the Foreign Legion getting struck. Shit.
With your mask on? Yes. Well, there then is the Russian ambassador to the United Nations, asked at the start of that, will you stop this war for the sake of humanity? And once again saying we will stop when the demilitarization has happened, pointing out, as he put it, that the area of Donbass had been shelled by Ukraine for 8 long years with no reproach.
Oh my God, Sky News actually said it.
From Western leaders then. So the words there of Vasily Nebenzia, the Russian ambassador to the UN. Let's just bring you some breaking news now. We're talking about humanitarian corridors concerning Mariupol earlier. The Red Cross says that 70 buses are ready now in Sumy in the northeast to evacuate civilians.
Right, well, we heard the bone filling and all that jazz. I'm going to go and chill out for a wee bit, get a wee bit of a siesta and feed myself and whatnot. Make sure, if you enjoy it, get shits and giggles and enjoy what I do. Thumbs it up, share it with your friends, family, foes, help the show and the channel grow. Tune in tonight for not the InfoWars Nightly News, the original, the OG baby, alternative look at the so-called alternative media. Skeptical. With the spectacles about the so-called skeptics and watching the so-called motherfucking watchmen. Somebody's got to do it. Alrighty, boob tubes. So tune in tonight at 9 o'clock UK, Middle Earth time, UK time. And you will see tonight, you will see not the info, I've got a hundred of actually, because I've been paying attention to all this pish, I've been on the boob tubes, so I've got quite a lot of clips to go over. Lots of shits and giggles. Alrighty, boob tubes. Hopefully, see you tonight at 9 o'clock. Thumbs up. Catch you. Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe and hit the bell. Everything will be well in 1995. Plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Why does a dog wag its tail? Because a dog is smarter than its tail. If the tail were smarter, the tail would wag the dog. Wag the dog in politics is the act of creating diversion from a damaging issue. Here at Wag the Dog News, the tail doesn't wag the dog. Enjoy. Clips, clip. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the bell, everything will be well. 1995 plus shipping.